In the last video in this series of videos, we were looking at a bug report. But what we missed is that the original author suggested a workaround. He found an old version of LibreOffice Common with version 3.5.4, which contained a sound directory, and he suggested copying that sound directory over into the new system. We will try his suggestion and see if it works. So first of all, we need to find that old deb. Here's the version that we were looking at, the version for Jessie, and the previous version of Debian is called Wheezy. So let's look at Wheezy, and like the one for Debian, for testing and Jessie, it has a list of files. And if we look in that list of files, we can search for our Sparkle, and we find it. So there is a sounds subdirectory in this old version of the package that contains a whole bunch of WAV files. And so if we simply copy that from the old package, perhaps our sounds will start working. Let us try that procedure now at this time. Okay, now let us notice that the old version, the description on Debian packages doesn't give us the URL for the deb file, but it does give us the URL for the DSC file. I happen to know that DSC files are text files and they're fairly short, so let's download that DSC file. And as I told you, they're fairly short. I'm not really interested in the contents of this file, but I want to look at its URL here in the URL window. If I simply delete off the last file name, and look in the directory that contains that file, here I see a whole large number of debs. And if I scroll down the list, here I find a LibreOffice Common, and the version is the one that the bug author suggested. And so we have found the deb file and its URL. Let's copy the URL of that deb file into our paste window. Let's look at the paste window now. Yes, that deb URL is in our paste window. So now we can forget about the browser for a while and go to a terminal window. Now let's go to the subdirectory temp /temp, because the contents of /temp get deleted automatically, and we're going to use some space that doesn't need to stay around forever. So let's create a subdirectory in /temp, make dir deb, let's call it deb, and then cd to it. If we use ls, we will see that we are now in an empty subdirectory. Well, the wget program gets URLs from the internet, and we have a URL in our paste buffer. So let us now download that file to our computer. It's downloading now. %. %. 75%. %. So now if we do ls, we will see that we have a deb in our empty directory. Now, there is a command called dpkg-deb that will extract the contents of deb. And to do that, we use the -x switch. And since there's only one deb in this directory, we can just say star.deb. We save a lot of typing. And it extracts it to a directory. And this is an old version of LibreOffice Common, so let's just call it old. And in less than a second or two, we will have an old subdirectory. We will have an old subdirectory. Now, let us examine the contents of that old subdirectory. ls minus capital R, we will look at it recursively, old. Okay, there are a whole lot of files in that subdirectory. And so now, let us search for WAV files, because as we recall, Sparkle was a WAV file. Let's say, look at old, minus in name, /star.dav. So there are a whole bunch of WAV files in this subdirectory called sounds. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to rename that sound subdirectory to the place that it should exist in user/lib LibreOffice Share Gallery. But that subdirectory is owned by the root, so we don't have the privilege. So we're going to give ourselves the privilege with the sudo command. Only privileged users can use this command. We're going to give ourselves a bash window. Okay, I've typed this before, so it's not asking my password. Okay, now, but we have to notice the star at the end of the prompt. That means that we are now root, and if we make a mistake, we can mess up the whole system. So let's move that subdirectory, which is called sounds, under old, into the place that it should exist in the system, starting with /. So that one simple command moved the whole subdirectory. And the only thing left to do is to make sure that root now owns that subdirectory. CHON minus capital R for recursive. And we're going to make it owned by root and the directory name. And do the same thing for the group. So now our sounds directory has been copied over. Everything tricky has already been done. Let's get out of root so we don't make a mistake and cause havoc. So now we're back to the powers of an ordinary user. Let us now bring this part of the series of videos to an end, and in the next one we will